Yo, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to A House Divided on a Tuesday on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. And look at us, Chad. Somehow we both come out as like the men in green today.
It does appear that way. Mine's actually gray, so it's like somehow the lighting is making it. I thought the same thing, though. It did look green, but this
is actually yellow.
And yeah, right. I mean, there you go.
Like, comment, subscribe to the page. We're going to be jumping into recruiting conversation to Corey and more other 5 stars in just a second. By all means, jump into the Specs chat. Send us your super chats. We'll be interactive all day. We got stuff planned for you today, but we'll still get interactive. Just send us your super chats or your really interesting comments in the Specs chat. Chad, the video that we did yesterday on Javion Hilson did so well that it led me, starting last night, to start thinking about, well, what should we talk about on the show today? And it occurred to me that if I was a Longhorn fan, not someone who covers recruiting, but somebody who watches recruiting through the eyeballs of those who cover it, I would want to know, is anything happening with Decorian Moore? Are we at a point where the Longhorns are maybe about to get back in that? We've seen so much recruiting momentum. We've seen them flip guys. We've seen them just get guys. In the last month and a half, steam has really been picked up. I think Texas fans have some curiosity about, is anything at all going to change with Decorian Moore? Because we know that that guy was the number 1 prospect on the table a couple of months ago. Is there a chance that the Longhorns can get back in on that? That crossed my mind all night last night. I know what we've been reporting. Has anything at all changed? I have the answer to that. It was like a cliffhanger for you a little bit.
Here's if I'm a Texas fan, I'd want to know an update because of a couple things. If we just saw what we did with Myron Charles and with Hilson, we mentioned them and we talked about him yesterday, where they can tell you that Florida State's season doesn't really matter, but I think we all know it couldn't hurt those other schools that would try to get a flip. So as we watch the season play out, like Oregon got a weird win last week. Late night, 1 field goal. By the way, they've never beaten Boise until then. Huh? Anyway, and then I watched Dan Lanning in the post game, and I just thought, man, that dude rides the line between great coach and meathead better than anybody I think I've ever seen. But I thought of Decorian Moore, and I thought of anybody that's committed to Oregon, and how are they going to look at this season? First game, sluggish win. Second game, really close win against, Boise's got their respect. I get it, but it's just, I don't know. I've been starting to think about how the recruits might react to games like this. So
Text guy too, how dare you?
How dare
you?
The idea that we would structure a show or anything that's designed to get you to click on it, it's cruel but fair. Cruel but fair. Absolutely.
Text guy too, I would point to yesterday's video of House Divided with Javion Hilson in a spot shadow.
Yeah.
In a weird way, I promise you, that was more clickbait than the just straight up is Decorian Moore next. In a weird way, I think they're both clickbait-ish. But I would offer that the shadow Javion Hilson a little more clickbaitish than the just outward, transparent Decorian Moore tease.
Yeah. The other thing, Catch, is if I'm a Texas fan, pure greed would be taking over right now. Just absolute Gordon Gecko, greed is good, greed. You just watch your recruiting class go from there to there to there to there to 4. And you just watched your football team go to Ann Arbor and do that.
Okay.
So that's why I would absolutely want to know, because you can't put it out of your mind. It's not like it's a zero possibility.
A couple of thoughts on this, Vivek. Number 1, you need to know that every time we do a video, there's a headline and a thumbnail. It's always clickbait. It's literally how the internet works.
Every day.
If you go to orangebloods.com, the front page, there's a headline on a story The whole purpose of the headline is to grab you and get you to read it. So, yes, it's clickbait, but I'm just telling you, everything is clickbait. Is this more clickbait than other clickbait? I'm going to say no, because I had the same thing. Look, here's the thing, Chad. If I keep saying the Longhorns aren't going to go in on Decorian Moore, it's all cool on that front. There's nothing to see. It's not going to happen. And I say it over and over and over and over. And then one day, Decorian Moore takes a visit to Texas. People are going to jump my you-know-what. They're going to say, Catch, what happened? You said there wasn't going to be anything else on the Decorian Moore front, and he's visited. So, look, one of the things we've got to do, we've got to check in from time to time to see if anything's happened. Because, look, I'll tell you what, Javion Hilson, a week ago, Florida State thought he was going to stay committed. I did a show on Friday where I was like, Myron Charles, there's a feeling any minute now. Javion Hilson, they think that guy's going to stay committed for a while. We literally, the next show we did, Javion Hilson's uncommitted, and the Longhorns are getting projected as the team that's going to end up with him. And these things can change fast. So, is there a big, wide discrepancy between the last thing we recorded on Decorian Moore and what I'm about to report on Decorian Moore? No. I checked last night. I think there's less desire to go back in on Decorian Moore right now than there was when it immediately happened. And I think part of that is that there's a feeling that they got Jamie French, they got Khalil Lockett, they love those two guys. And you may start upsetting the apple cart if you start messing with the apples. So as of today, I think I'm still hearing no on Decorian Moore. And, I think we're somewhat punished. It would be a lot easier for us to hang you guys out to dry and say, stay tuned. You never know. We'll check back next Tuesday for our weekly Decorian Moore video update. We're not doing that, but we are probably punished a little bit by our transparency, because the reality with this Decorian Moore thing is that's all it would take is a visit. All it would take is Decorian Moore to say, I'm going to Texas for the Georgia game, which isn't an impossibility. In fact, I bet when we get to Texas and Georgia in October, Chad, there will be guys that are probably committed to other schools that come in for that game, and it might lead to nothing at all. Or it might be the thing that kickstarts a reignition in that recruitment between Texas and that player. Mm-hmm. That's the good thing about being ranked number 1 or number 2 or number 3 in the country. You play in games that guys want to go out of their way to see. And I think Georgia will have that impact. We've talked about that. Woo! Boateng. Chad, I did that for you. I just like good. I'm going to do the woo all the way through signing day, because it does make me think of Eddie Murphy Raw. Woo! I mean, if a linebacker can get you to make that sound, he's good.
Yeah,
and he is. That game is as much opening up the pathway for Texas to get that kid in for an official visit that particular weekend as much as anything else. So, is there anything new on Decorian Moore? Anytime there's an update, it's the latest information. The latest information I have is I just don't think Texas is going to fight that hard. I think, could something change there? Yeah, but I get this sense by the time it was all said and done, I think there was a feeling that they were able to get Khalil Lockett and Jamie French, partly because they didn't get Decorian Moore, that those guys get to feel like the A-listers at their position in the recruiting class, and maybe 2's company and 3's a crowd. And so I think there's a feeling that you might upset what you've now secured if you make that play. If you make that play, what might its impact be without a guarantee? Might you upset the guys that you did get committed, who are both maybe not at the Decory Moore level of prestige, but not that far from it either. I continue to be in a place where I'm not seeing that there's a real rush to go after Decory Moore. And so I wonder, I thought for sure we would see it happen in July. Hey, you know what? We'll come back around on this. Wake me up in September and October. This is going to be a thing again. I'm not so sure now. And the people I communicate with certainly don't seem sure that there's going to be a reemergence there. But like, I'm going to continue to check in on it, because I'm telling you, the day that I don't is the day that something happens and you just can't rest on your laurels. We can't just not check in with the number one player in the state of Texas. Anything change? No? Okay. Good to know. But in the event that something eventually does change, I'm going to keep asking the questions.
2 super chats have come in, Catch. I'm going to go to the one that's on topic first. 199 super chat from Matthew. If DK Moore comes, does Kalik and French change their mind? I guess Kalik and French, Kalik or French. So I guess kind of the reverse of what you were just talking about.
I mean, I think it's funny, Matthew, because before there were any commitments, we would ask questions. I can remember doing this with Alex and Cody. We'd say, would you rather have Decory Moore, or would you rather have the combination of Kalik Lockett and Jamie French together? I don't think there was a consensus answer on that. I often found myself, I'm not playing fantasy football this year, but when I do, I know. Thank you. Well, by the way, I thought it worked out okay for me week 1. My life didn't end.
Good. I hadn't really checked in with you. Now we're officially through the first week. You okay? No hot sweats, no weird depressions. You okay?
No anxiety.
Right.
There wasn't the problem is the lows are lower than the highs are high. So no lows on Sunday meant it was a great Sunday. I was able to enjoy the Cowboys win. I didn't watch that game and go, oh God, there wasn't anything else tugging away at my strings.
Yeah, thanks to you, I've never played season-long fantasy because of how I watch you react to it. But to me, it's like being married to an ugly, crazy person. That's what fantasy football looks like to me. He or she is not hot enough to justify the crazy. That's what fantasy football looks like to me from the outside.
I can't, as someone who's semi-retired, who's taking a break, I can't say that you're wrong.
There you go.
But in a fantasy football trade, my number one rule in making trades is get the best player. Always get the best player. Never trade a quarter for 2 dimes and a nickel. So when I look at the whole Decory Moore, Kalik Lockett, Jamie French thing, there's a part of me that looks at it that way. But then there's a part of me that looks at Decory Moore as the quarter, and Jamie French and Kalik Lockett are a couple of dimes. But I don't know if that's fair to Kalik Lockett and Jamie French. It might actually be, are you trading $1 for 2 87-cent pieces? And it's like, well, neither one of them is the $1, but if you add them up together, you almost have $2. That's better, right? There's very little in life where I can say I'm almost going to give you twice as much of something for this other thing. Rarely do we turn that down. I do think that if Decory Moore were to come, one of those guys or both would bail. Or at least it would plant the seed. Maybe I don't know that. Maybe that's bluster. Maybe they would stay completely locked in. But I think especially with Jamie French, we know that Miami's going to keep knocking on that door. We know that LSU is going to keep knocking on that door. I think what you wouldn't want to do is start playing footsie with Decory Moore without an absolute commitment that, he's coming in. You don't play footsie in front of your girlfriend with another girl. And if you do, boy, you better know things are going good with this other girl, because they're about to start going bad with your mainstay. And none of these guys won't say it publicly. In fact, I think Khalil Lockett and Jamie French publicly would encourage it. But I think deep down, part of the reason why Texas was able to get that combo was that they didn't get DeCorian Moore. How much damage would you do if you go back in on Moore? I think it's really, really tough to say. But there really were very few people that thought Texas would get all three. That if Texas started out getting DeCorian Moore, it might cost them both of the other two. I think there's a thought that you're probably losing one of the two at best. So there would be real consequences, I think, if Texas even started playing footsie with DeCorian Moore. You may at that point, Chad, just plant the seed in these other two guys. We're not enough for them. And when you look at the Texas wide receiver unit and you look at the priority that Sark puts on being his top two guys, top three guys, you can make the case that if you're a Texas wide receiver, you don't want numbers. You don't, because we're still looking at these guys and wondering, are they going to sign a portal guy in January? You know what I mean? We're looking at this group and we're like, okay, there's going to be a curveball somewhere. Is Sark going to throw a curveball in January where they lose? What if Matthew Golden goes pro after this season? What if you ended up losing Golden, Bond, and Bolden all in 1 year? Would you just want the freshman to come in? Or would you want a little bit more experience? Would you want a little bit more of a guarantee on the box? Texas wide receiver recruiting, including the way we look at Jonte Cook and what are we making out of what happens there? All of this is intertwined. It is maybe as complicated as any other position where so many other positions are cut and dry, right? Quarterback position, there's a hierarchy. Every quarterback that's recruited knows what it is. Well, Arch is going to take over next year. Let's be realistic. Am I going to beat out Arch Manning? I think you can do that at the defensive end position. Even a guy like Javion Hilson, you can look at it. They rotate in more guys. You play more. You can look at Colin Simmons and go, well, they returned a bunch of guys, and yet Colin Simmons is still playing because he's that good. Every position's a little bit different. This wide receiver one, it's just complicated. Always. It's forever complicated. Texas is 2-0 and ranked number 2 in the country. And I did a modcast a couple of hours ago with all the guys. And I was like, look, what do we make of Jonte Cook? What does he make of, through the first 2 games of this season, he was supposed to be 9 months ago the number 1 option in the passing game. And now he's really not getting balls thrown to him until 2 weeks ago. It was Arch in the fourth quarter. This past week, it was Quinn in the fourth quarter. But like Jonte's not getting a lot of work right now early in games at all. What does he think about that? What does that mean when the season's over? I just think that juggling some of the wide receiver egos and expectations is really difficult to do. DeCorian Moore adding him doesn't come without adding complications.
Matthew, thank you for that super chat. We've got other super chats that are lining up. Before we get to them, let's thank a couple of our great partners. One of them is AV Consultations. Get that set up.
With audiovisual consultations, scientific data proves it. Size does matter. The bigger and wider your television is, the better. Football season is here, and the time is now to get your entire audio-video experience tuned up and ready. New flat screens, projection video, Dolby True HD surround, all the goodies at great prices and followed up with great service. So call us at 255-8678. That's 255-8678, or on the web at avconsultations.com.
We also want to thank here on House Divided our presenting sponsor. It is Texas Card House. We are efforting getting a new graphic to throw up that'll be there all the time, but I'll just show you this one because they have been rolling since August 28th. As far as Texas Card House social is going, that's the new grand opening, the re-grand opening of the location in Austin and 5 other locations in the state? catch.
Yeah,
Do I have
man.
that right?
The new one's right next to the Austin Aquarium. You can't miss it, mainly because there's lines out the door. So it's like, hey, where is that new Texas? Oh, there it is. I see it. New York City line trying to get inside the door. My goal is to get down there this week.
Yep.
If at all possible. I'm itching to play in the new facility. I saw it just before they were finished. I can't wait, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is the premier, bar none, poker house in, I think, the state of Texas, but certainly in the city of Austin. Get your butt down there and check it out.
There it is. There's your QR code to go ahead and scan in the new executive chefs, food cranking up, bigger, better tournaments, all kinds of crazy cool stuff at Texas Card House. Thanks to them for their great partnership. Thanks to almost 800 people that are in the Specs chat. Let me just scan for any new super chats. Okay, we are caught up, and there's 3 to grab here. So let's go slightly off topic, and we'll get back to recruiting. This was the first one that came in, Blake, so thank you for that $5. Chad, have you followed Chris Russell, linebacker at A&M last year? He's from my hometown in Tennessee, made the Packers practice squad, first NFL player from here. Well, congrats to your hometown, Blake. That's a really cool story. I do have a policy that when somebody from my school ends up on an NFL team I don't care about, I wish them well. I wish them success to a point, but I don't actively root for their team. So, I'm going to be actively rooting for Chris Russell to do well as a Packer, but I do hope he gets that, NFL career and pension and all that good stuff. But I am familiar with the name, yes. All right, so
who's the Aggie that you found yourself rooting the most against over the years because of their team affiliation?
Oh, geez. Aggie I rooted most against.
Because there haven't been, Brian Arakpo was in Washington, but Washington was always terrible. So it's been easy to look past the Washington thing.
Yeah, the Packers weren't great at the time, but probably Johnny Holland. Of players I love.
You love Johnny Holland and you had to quit?
Oh, I love Johnny Holland. He's one of my favorite Aggie linebackers of all time, and that says a lot. There have been a few. But when he wore that Packer uniform, this block just formed in my mind. And again, they weren't phenomenal, but I just couldn't root for him. So it might be Johnny Holland. Ray Childress, probably another guy, because I'm a Dallas, I'm a Cowboys fan. So
can I give you the biggest almost for Texas fans?
Those are probably my 2. Go ahead.
And let me ask you, does one come to mind? Because there's one that it comes to my mind whenever I think of this.
So a Texas player that went to, I guess, a rival of like Cowboys or Texans?
Correct. But he ended up not going. But boy, I lived in fear for months. This guy was going to play for this team, and it would just change everything.
I can't think of it. Like right now, I'm guessing a Minihue would kind of be one of those guys because he's been on 2 teams I know Cowboy fans aren't thrilled with right now. But who are you thinking of?
Ricky and the Eagles.
Okay. Yeah.
That entire draft process, there was a lot of conversation that Ricky was going to end up in Philly. They ended up taking Donovan McNabb.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, the Eagles fans booed that. They wanted Ricky.
Yeah, they wanted Ricky bad.
And I was like, what the hell do we do? Because I can't like Ricky if he goes to the Eagles.
What was the last stop for Vince? Was it Philly? What was that last team that gave Vince a run?
He did, because remember, he was said they were going to go undefeated or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. I remember thinking that one, man, if I'm a Longhorn fan that loves the Cowboys, whoo, that's a rough one. If that works, that is a rough one to deal with.
I'm telling you, the idea of Ricky going to the Eagles, because I was still in college at that point, so I was a fan. And I was a fan of I still had hope for the Cowboys back in 99. I thought the Cowboys would be going back to more Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, how about, I know it's
I probably wouldn't care as much.
I know it's not a Longhorn guy, but it is an Austin guy. I always wondered how Westlake people that love the Cowboys dealt with that Nick Foles thing. I always wondered just how you processed all of that. The dude won a Super Bowl for the Eagles. Just, ugh. It's
Plus, everybody walks around talking about how big his Johnson is. It's like,
Yeah.
that guy's got it all.
He does. He really does. Happy retirement to Nick Foles. I think he just now retired. All right, Catch, back to the recruiting discussion. $5 from S. Ramon. What's a more possible flip, Pettyjohn or I'm assuming that's DJ Sanders. So that's Pettyjohn, who is a commit to Ohio State. DJ Sanders has picked A&M at this point.
I'm going to say Pettyjohn. But the thing is, I think Texas has gotten the guys that they want more than DJ Sanders. I wonder how hard they're going to keep working DJ Sanders now that they've flipped a few guys. I do think they're going to want to go into the portal at defensive tackle. They're not going to ignore that position. So they've gotten a couple of young guys now. They flipped Sharma. They flipped Charles. Both of those guys internally, they have ranked higher than DJ Sanders. If Sanders were above those two guys, I think you'd see them go into the mattresses to try to get him in. Pettyjohn's at the position that – thing is, I think he seems really happy, committed to Ohio State. Could Texas make that an NIL thing? And would they want to? I tend to think that they're going to keep on Pettyjohn. I think that's the one of those two, if side by side. I think I would go Pettyjohn. But I could be wrong. I think both of them kind of feel unlikely at this point. But if one was going to materialize, I think it would be Pettyjohn over Sanders.
All right, Catch. Drew is getting every bit out of his $4.99 on this one. Get ready. Cross-class wide receiver question. How would you rank Cook, French, Hale, Hudson, Moore, and Wingo at their peak in high school? And what kind of wide receiver would you label each? Damn.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me do the rankings first.
Okay.
I would go Moore, French, Hudson, Cook, Wingo, and Hale.
Wow. Okay.
I've got Moore as like the only guy in that group that I've thought of as a 6-star. Hudson, Cook, French, those guys I all had as 5 stars. So on some level, you're kind of I'm doing it with what I think how I would do it and where I ranked Cook and where I would rank French and where I had Hudson. And then Wingo was like a borderline 5-star guy. So he would come in 5th. And I had Jalen Hell as a clear high 4-star. I did not have him as a 5-star. So he would be last on my group. What kind of wide receiver would I label each? Well, beyond recruiting, right? I gave you their rankings label. Hale reminds me a lot of what Sarkisian described yesterday as they don't really want. He's a big, physical, high point kind of player at the receiver position. It doesn't mean that he's not a great talent. Doesn't mean that he won't play in the NFL. Doesn't mean that he couldn't have a big impact on this Texas team. But when Anwar Richardson talked about why he likes fast guys, and then he explained it. We want guys who are catching the ball on the move, and then after they catch the ball on the move, they can run faster than anybody else. That's not really what I think of with Jalen Hell. I do think about that with Jonte Cook. I do think about that with obviously Decorian Moore. Those are, to me, I think, fast, explosive guys. Wingo's like a hybrid of a running back receiver type. God, I hate it when people say someone's the next Deebo Samuel, but you can see traces of that in Ryan Wingo because he is such a stout guy. French and Hudson for me are not pure speed guys, but they're not big guys either. They're some combination of all of these receiving skills that you desire in one. And I hope I answered that question okay.
Drew, thank you for that. Again, Asking Catch to go deep on $4.99. Well done. Well done. How about a $5 super chat from Ben? What's up, Ben? It's nice when you can discuss whether 2 5-stars is better than 1 6-star. I remember those wide receiver rooms Charlie was rolling out. Woof.
I almost don't even know how to comment on that.
No, let's let that one sit. Ben, you're absolutely right.
Ben, woof.
Woof is absolutely true. Also, just a side comment here, not a super chat, but I would agree with Binks. Can we get a moment of silence for the greatest voice to ever sound wave the earth? R.I.P. James Earl Jones. That did happen. That did happen.
Can I ask you a James Earl Jones question?
Sure.
There's, depending on your age and depending on when you would have caught James Earl Jones, everybody can have a different association with him. When you think of James Earl Jones, I don't think of Darth Vader right away. I don't think of,
Mufasa?
What's that?
Mufasa?
I don't think of Mufasa.
You think of Field of Dreams?
I don't think of Field of Dreams.
James Earl Jones. What do you think of?
I'm just curious if you're going to guess it. Because you and I are like peers. We're close enough in age that I feel like we would have some of the same associations. You're not going to get it, I don't think.
I feel like it's going to be something really important that I should have seen but haven't. So go ahead.
It's not.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's his role in Conan the Barbarian.
Now, that's an interesting point on James Earl Jones. The two things I think of him most for, I never see him: Darth Vader and Mufasa. But the thing where I first saw him would have been Conan. You're right. The guy himself, it's Conan the Barbarian. So you're absolutely right.
Which is
a mean mother in that movie.
It's a. If you go back with 40 years to marinate on Conan and you watch Arnold do his Arnold thing in Conan, you're like, oh man, that's real. Like he's barely talking.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah,
James Earl Jones as the king,
the Governator at all.
He's the king of the snakes.
Yeah.
And that movie is dark. I mean, you've got some heads getting chopped off. You've got orgies taking place.
Yeah.
You've got snakes if you've never seen James Earl Jones in Conan the Barbarian, I think you got to give it a look. It will freak you out knowing everything that James Earl Jones eventually becomes.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. No, there's a lot going on there. I forgot about this one too. I always forget this one. Sandlot. I always forget him.
He walked in Conan so that he could run in the Sandlot. There's so many movies where even the Darth Vader thing is weird, right? Because all these years later, we think of James Earl Jones as kind of almost a cuddly figure. His Q rating has to be off the charts. Who doesn't like James Earl Jones?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And the other big compliment I'll give him is to be one of the great voices of all time. I've never heard anyone do an imitation of him that is dead on. No one can actually imitate James Earl Jones. I think that's a great compliment. Just like nobody can imitate Sam Elliott. They try, but they don't do it. Bradley Cooper got Oscar love for basically imitating Sam Elliott, but he didn't nail it because you can't nail those guys. You can't get their voice exactly right. That's when you know you're an all-time great.
I will say one of the real cool things in the last 24 hours is to hear how many different people have different things that they associate with him. I just hit you with the code. I knew that one would be out of right field.
That's a good one. Because I watched Conan the Barbarian the first time I ever watched it. I was probably, God, I don't know, 10?
Well, it feels like that movie was on all the time.
It was 8, 9, 10 years old. But I don't know that I've ever watched it a second time all the way through. Like, I've seen the movie.
No, it's a movie that you jump into And you hang with it for a little bit because you're like, oh, the scene where he like kills this guy is about to come up. So you'll watch that. It's a long movie.
It is. It's long. I've been through it once. I have not journeyed through it twice. That's why it did not pop in my head.
But this is a guy that does King Joffrey and Coming to America.
Oh,
he does Field of Dreams. He's he plays James Greer, Admiral James Greer, in a couple of the Clancy movies. You know, he's in, you mentioned Musafa, The Sandlot. Like, this guy is in a bunch of stuff. And here I am, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah. And by the way, if there can be the most likable villain discussion, technically this movie doesn't have a villain, but him as the king in Coming to America is the most likable villain in the history of, like, in a way, he's the villain of the movie. But by the end,
in a way, he is the villain in the movie.
Right? He's the villain, and she says, I thought you were the king, and you think it's all. And then at the end, I mean, then you're just like, he gives the big smile, and you forgive him, and you're like, King Joffrey, I'm with you. I love you.
He was about to get his ass kicked, though, at one point in the movie.
Now, here's the last
thing. Talking about Lisa, and Lisa's dad wasn't having it.
That's right. That is right. The checkbook and everything. I don't care who you are, Jack. That's a great scene between two legends. That is one of the best back and forths between two big dogs we may have ever had. Before we get back to recruiting stuff, Catch, here's one more thing. Are you familiar with the show Big Bang Theory at all?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the cameo he did?
No, but I've heard about it or read about it in the last 24 hours.
It is so good. Go look it up. It is so good. Sheldon Cooper confronts James Earl Jones in a restaurant. Walks up to James Earl Jones in a restaurant, and what follows is one of my favorite cameos of all time. And it's an old James Earl Jones. It's literally in the last 10 years, and it's priceless. Go watch it if you love James Earl Jones.
I'll check it out.
Oh, it's fantastic. All right. Let's see. Do we have another super chat? We did not. Thank you to Binks for mentioning James Earl Jones. Let me scan for super chat.
By the way, Drew's super chat, really good. For $4.99, got good value on that.
That's what I'm telling you. That's one of the best detailed super chats I think I've ever seen. So thank you. Absolutely. Thank you to Drew for that one. All right. Before we get back to some recruiting stuff, let me also give sinus and snoring specialists their love. It is about sleeping good, feeling good, resting better, just feeling better. When football season fires up, I got to make sure that I'm watching enough games, because you got to do that, but also that I'm not like old man falling asleep all the time with games. Don't always doze off. So I got to be paying attention to those things that sinus and snoring specialists have talked to me about, like how late do you eat? How late are you drinking certain things? But also just how are you sleeping? And thanks to sinus and snoring specialists, I sleep so much better than I did years ago. I went in 2017, and I've been sleeping great ever since then. They can get rid of your allergies for good. They can get rid of your sleep apnea. They can deal with those things. Don't let it get worse. Don't keep yourself from getting great rest. Don't let that person in your house continue to snore and sound like they don't have any air coming into their body. Because guess what? They don't. You need to get it all checked out, and they'll get it checked out for you. Sinus and snoring specialists right there at Parmer and Mopac. 601-0303 in Austin is the number, and you can also go sinussnoringent.com. Start checking them out. Sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. Longhorns certainly a healthy football team right now at 2-0, getting ready for UTSA. Yes, sir?
We'll get back into the football. By the way, Tyler, don't get cursed out. It's almost 1 o'clock. You have to know that we're teetering closer and closer to the edge where we just lose the rails. So, just so you know, like if you know us, you're not going with the so football ... Because I wanted to tell you I had a sleeping and snoring specialist last night. I'm on YouTube.
Yes.
And there's a 30-minute video connected to So You Think They're the Philadelphia show. There's all
Always Sunny.
Thank you. Just as having a brain malfunction there for a second. And it was like some of Charlie's like best moments or whatever. So I was like, okay, well, I got to click on that. One of them, I think it was Charlie, was sleeping but was snoring. And the other people in the show were listening to him sleep. And at one point, one of them's like, no, he's hanging on. It's okay.
He's hanging on.
I thought, no, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to hang on.
No, I'm telling you, it was scary. It was scary. The way my wife was snoring about a year or so ago, 2 years ago. Oh, I'm just glad I don't have to hear that anymore.
We got a bunch of super chats that have just come in.
3 super chats just rolled in the door. We
Pretty
appreciate
little maids all in a row.
Let's start with Rhett, $4.99. Of all the Texas teams you've watched in your lifetime, what player made you the most excited after they scored a touchdown? Wow. That's interesting.
I mean, probably Vince. I mean, Vince is the guy that after a couple of those touchdowns was able to raise his hands up in the air and have confetti fall on him.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
after a touchdown, that is such.
Yeah, because Rhett
most excited after they scored.
Well, because Rhett's not being specific enough. If you meant their first touchdown, then you could have that discussion. But Ketch went right to a very important touchdown, and obviously Vince scored that level of touchdown, and Ketch would have followed him all the way through.
So is this the most excited a person? I was reading this question wrong. I was like, what player in general would score touchdowns that made you the most excited? Ricky would be on that list.
Right. I think Rhett's asking you to compare it to like you following them, and did you like him as a player? Did you meet him as a person and all that stuff? And then the satisfaction of seeing them score a touchdown after that.
Oh. Man, I got to be honest. I felt like for a while, every time Drew Brees did something, he validated me. Because you'd have to go back, Chad, to the early days of the internet.
Wait. Who now?
Drew Brees.
Okay. Of all the Texas teams you've watched.
Well, no, but now I'm just thinking in general. I'm trying to answer the question.
Well, hey, Westlake's a Texas team. So, all right.
Well, that's true. I just can tell you that I watched Drew Brees play for a long time. And every time he did something, it was like, I told you guys he was capable of this. Because when I first made some of my big proclamations about Drew Brees, he was a nobody. When you predict that a guy's going to win the Heisman, no, I said he would be a Heisman finalist at Purdue. He had 2 scholarship offers. For that to have actually transpired is easily one of my great all-time calls. I always enjoyed that. On the Texas side of things, I mean, anytime Chance did anything, he and I had a real close relationship. I can remember the Texas Tech game and just how overjoyed I was for him as a human being.
That's a good one. Rhett, I'll give you one kind of from out of nowhere because it was kind of a rarity, but Rod Wright, the touchdown against Oklahoma, because having been around him a little bit, I felt like he was a good dude. I felt like he was a really good player, and then it ends up being an impactful moment in just a wonderful slaughtering of OU. And as that big bastard was running down the field, I don't know that I've ever felt more happy catch for a guy in a moment. Like Robinson makes the play, ball hits the ground, and that big truck is going down into the OU end. And I'm watching it from on top of the press box. I'm not sure if I've ever been happier for a guy wearing burnt orange, because I just thought, well, that's freaking cool right there. So I'm going to go Rod Wright.
I'm trying to think if an Aggie's ever made me feel that way. Because there have been guys on the A&M team that I've liked as guys that I covered in high school.
Mine's easy for A&M because my niece kind of knew Cyrus Gray a little bit.
I did like to root for Cyrus.
Cyrus is such a nice guy, and every contact I ever had with him, it was always that way. So that's one that stands out. Also, I'll give you another defensive guy. I was at a game where Dat Wynn covered an onside.
I was just about to say Dat.
Dat covered an onside kick from another team and returned it for a touchdown. I was so happy for him that moment. Anytime Dat would score, that was freaking cool. And I'd never seen that before.
I think Dat Win, more than any Aggie player that has ever lived, is the guy that was most easy to like for Texas fans if you could eliminate when they played each other. I never heard a Texas fan ever say anything bad about Dat Win, ever.
No. He was and because they played at the same time, to me, Ricky had, by the time they finished, that's the way I felt about each of them. And maybe there were Aggies that said rude things about Ricky, and there were Longhorns that said rude things about Dat, but I didn't hear much.
Or anybody saying anything about Dat.
Yeah, the story's so.
And it made it easier when he went to the Cowboys. You know what I mean? It was like,
yeah.
And then, but even when he was in college, there was always an incredibly healthy respect for that guy. Everybody else, they can go to hell. But that win, everybody was kind of down with.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, more super chats lined up. Let's see. ATX Bates, $4.99 super chat. Credit to Banks. I need Chad to do the "She's Your Queen" in Lou Holtz's voice. What? Wow, that's a strange idea.
That is a strange little sandwich you've made there. I was going to tell you, ATX Bates, that this is worth $20.
Okay, so not a $4.99.
But I so want to hear it.
You want to see if we can get the 20, or would you like to hear the attempt now?
I want to hear it now. I'm going to cheapen you out a little bit.
Okay.
Make a rare exception. This is such an obscure combination of things. I have to admit, if somebody else wants to fill in the gap and pay the other $15, I think it should happen. But I'm okay with just hearing it.
All right. And just to be fair, I pulled up the lyrics to make sure. Would you like the entire song?
Yes.
Yes?
Until I tell you no. But yes.
Until you say no. Okay. All right. Until you say no. Here we go. She's a queen to be, a queen to be forever, a queen who do whatever his highness desires. She's your queen to be, a vision of perfection, an object of affection to quench your royal fire, completely free from infection, to be used at your discretion.
Okay.
Wait.
Uncle.
There it is. Thank you, ATX Bates. We cheapened it down to $5. Catch originally wanted 20.
I look, and I made the right decision.
Because it wasn't worth 20.
But look, I didn't say that. I did not say it wasn't worth 20.
Thank you, Bates.
That is not what I'm saying.
That's funny.
Is that your Joe Cocker?
It did. I don't think singing a song as Lou Holtz is a little difficult, and the key to that one is the high note. It's the queen to be. It's like all that stuff, and Lou Holtz really doesn't have that.
Cocker.
The Joe Cocker. That is kind of that way. I never thought about that.
No,
I can't buy no help from my friends. Yeah.
There's just enough truth in it that it's really funny.
It really is. That is really good. All right. As long as we're on the silly side, let's get this one. $5 super chat. Buy or sell, you do choose James Earl Jones commercial voice over Morgan Freeman and Dennis Haysbert.
Yes, I do.
Buy. I would as well. Yeah. James. Remember when he was the voice of
those gentlemen?
Remember when he was the voice of CNN?
Oh, yeah.
When they got him to do that? God, that was amazing. The first time you heard that one. Back to recruiting catch, $5 super chat. What is more likely, more flips or Ryan Williams transfers to Texas? Ryan Williams, currently Bama?
Alabama star freshman wide receiver.
Oh, I'm sorry. The guy that's already that's there. My bad. Yeah. The freshman wide receiver.
Man, I feel like you're asking me. One's a 3% chance and the other one's like a 2% chance.
Oh, geez. Make him feel good. Way to go, clickbait.
I'm gonna go Ryan Williams simply because I literally had an Alabama person plant the seed into my brain that Ryan Williams will be in the portal next year, if for no other reason than to just find out how much money he's worth in an open market where he's proven. So I'll go Ryan Williams because I had an Alabama person mention it to me. So there you go.
There it is. Tyler, we appreciate that. If you want to throw in a super chat, please do. We all got somebody else with a great moment for them for a Longhorn. We'll get to that.
That's going to make me smile all day long. That's why it was worth $4.99.
That's good.
Because I will walk around the rest of the day thinking about your Lou Holt / Joe Cocker rendition.
The get by with a little help from my friends, Queen to be. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Sometimes you just got to do it. Catch, today was one of those days, more than others, that I think you might have needed a little rogue shop in your life because, you know, when you're in the house and they're replacing roofs and stuff, like it's loud and your head starts banging. I'm guessing maybe Rogue Shop could have helped you out today.
No, I thought where Rogue Shop could have helped me out was last night. It was one of those nights where I went to bed at a good hour. I think I turned the TV off about 3 minutes to go in the Monday night game. I was like, I've got enough. So I went to sleep. I went to sleep fast, quickly. But then I woke up around 3 and I just had a hard time going back to sleep. Couldn't turn the TV on. I didn't want my wife to bitch at me. The dogs were just being a little bit more pain in the butt than normal. I got this one fat ass Weimaraner who is constantly just pushing his legs and trying to, she's just constantly trying to stretch out in the bed. Had I taken a gummy last night, I'd have just slept through the whole night. And then I woke up and I'd have felt great. And instead, at about 4 o'clock, an hour in to not being able to go back to sleep, I was like, oh, a gummy. If I had just taken a gummy, none of this would have happened. Oftentimes, that's where it comes in with Rogue Shop. A lot of times, it's not that I underrate how good it is to have the Rogue products to make your day a little bit better. What really stands out is when you don't. When you don't have them, when you didn't take them, when you forgot to take them, any of that. And then you realize how much better it could have been if you just had thought ahead. Go to Rogue Shop. Think ahead now. Scan that QR code. Go shopping. Figure out, is it pain? Is it anxiety? Is it sleeplessness? Is it you just want a little bit of a buzz? Like, what is it that you're looking for? What do you need? Let them help you find it. Make your day, make your week, make your life a little bit better with Rogue Shop.
There it is. House Divided on this Tuesday. If you want to throw a super chat at us. Oh, look at here. Just as I start to look. Jason with a $25 super chat. You two, plus Sukamel, are why I watch this channel. Keep up the great work, and thank you. Thank you, Jason. You could have just told us that, and my ego might have made me pull it up. But the fact that
maybe
it was 25. Well done. Thank you.
Well, hey, Jason, just so you know, on Wednesdays, we have a brand new show.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, do we have our Wednesday show for tomorrow, Catch?
Well, look, I'm here during the roofing. I think I'll be okay and be here whatever happens tomorrow.
Excellent. Jason, thank you so much for that $25 super chat. That is fantastic. Somebody else doing a good memory catch, the Bosky. Great Texas moment for me was Quan Cosby catching the diving touchdown against Ohio State in the Orange Bowl. Living in Cincinnati, Ohio, it was sweet. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Hey, I will say this as somebody who was in the opposite end zone of where it occurred, the Lima Swede touchdown was otherworldly. You know, the thing about Quan's touchdown is that was on the back end of an incredible Texas run, 04, 05, 08, 09. I guess it would have been not quite at the back end, right? It's at the end of that 08 season. But in 05, that Lima Swede touchdown in the corner of the end zone was euphoric, to say the least.
Yeah, it's a great play. And he and Quan would share. Both those guys always felt like good dudes to me too. Seemed like nice guys, and it was kind of cool to be around them. So yeah, obviously both those, not only you can be excited for them, but those moments are huge. I mean, Quan literally wins the game, and Swedes gave them the lead.
Yeah, I mean, technically it was the game winner.
Ends up being the game winner, right? Yeah. By the end of that game, 25-22, if I'm not mistaken. Well, Uncle Mickey, if you're going to pay $6.99 to go off topic, here we go. $6.99 Canadian, hosers, off topic catch. When/how did you become a Liverpool supporter? Oh my God, Mickey, really?
No, look, I can tell this fairly quickly.
I doubt that.
Starting in about 2002, definitely in 2006, because I can remember watching that World Cup. I'd come out of World Cups really into soccer. World Cup would end, and I would go, this was great. Let's do some more of this. But then I didn't have a team. So the World Cup would end, and then I wouldn't have a team, and I just didn't know what to do. So after the 2014 World Cup, I decided that I was gonna find a team. So I spent much of the 2014-2015 season trying to pick a team, and Liverpool just picked me. They were awful. It was an awful season. It was a year before Jurgen shows up. But something drew me to Liverpool. And no matter how bad the Champions League games were that year, no matter how bad the Stoke game was at the end of the season, I jumped in 2014-2015, which means we're basically at the 10-year Annie of my Liverpool sickness.
There it is. Makes the
decision. It would have been 10 years ago, right about now.
Very cool. And since then, he's never walked alone. Thank you, Uncle Mickey, for $6.99 Canadian. We appreciate you. Chad throws one in. This is kind of an obvious one, I guess, right? Don't know if it's been mentioned. Ricky's touchdown against A&M to break Dorsett's rushing record. Hook 'em emoji. Chad, that one's got a lot, especially if you liked Ricky at that moment, right? If you like the guy, plus the moment of the game and the importance of that, and then the way it happened, and you need that much to break the record, and you get that much, and it's a touchdown. And by the way, I think it was Dat Win that tackled likable. I think Dat got him is the one that tackled him into the end zone. And then you break Dorsett's record, and I mean, yeah, that was an incredible moment all the way around, no doubt.
Ditto. I was in the end zone. I was standing.
Were you really
in the end zone? If you go back and watch that play, I can do it frame by frame, and you can see my legs.
Nice.
You see my legs in that video. Matter of fact, I tell you what, I'll see if I can take a screenshot of it, and then I'll load it up here onto the show. And you go, oh, there's Catch's legs on the Ricky Williams touchdown.
I'll never forget.
It didn't excite you as much as I thought it might. Ooh, look at Catch's legs.
I'll be glad to look at your legs. I've never thought of that before, but sure, I'll be glad to look at your legs on a historic, Longhorn.
I'm pulling it up right now. I'm going to see if I can find it.
That's that fascinating thing.
Keep going, don't worry. Because there are certain things where you are a part of history. My legs are in the camera shot. I was there.
That's it. I was there too. Nobody got a picture of my legs. You can't see my legs when Ricky gets into the end zone.
Because I was in the end zone.
Right, I understand that.
As he's coming off the field, he's running through the end zone. And I'm standing almost under the goalposts. And you can see, oh, there they go.
He knows. Well, there it is. I'd know those legs anywhere.
Well, because the thing is, it's November. Late November, and I'm wearing shorts.
Oh, that's a good one. That's true. That's a good
one.
You're
like, oh, there's Catch. I know those legs and shorts anywhere.
Phil Arnold, any long distance touchdown against OU, especially Jordan Shipley's kickoff return. That was a good one, Phil. That's a good one. Because at that moment, it kind of felt like, oh, is this about to? And then, yeah, that's part of that classic 08 game. Good stuff. Yeah, good point. Any long touchdown against OU, like the Rod Wright one, it does stand out to you because that theater allows for those moments to be bigger. Everything that happens at a 2-yard touchdown in the OU game feels bigger than it actually is. The long ones, oh my God, the place comes undone. It's so good. So good. All right. Let's see. Catch is, are you sending me the picture of your legs, by the way?
No, don't you worry about what I'm doing. I'm taking care of it.
You're taking care of it. Okay. All right.
The thing is, sometimes when you try to screenshot these videos, they're copyrighted. So you're like, oh, okay, I saved the picture and I screenshot it, and then it shows up as a blank. So I'm trying to make sure.
We got it right.
That there's no blank. Yes.
Okay. We want to make sure we're going to see this. Ricky breaks the record in 98, and Catch and his legs were there.
It's true.
To witness it in the end zone. That would have been, let me see if I can do it. That is the south end zone at DKR where that happened, right?
Correct.
Yes. Ricky going from your left to your right if you were on the
I'm at a point now where I've done I'm uploading it now.
Excellent.
So if you want to start buy or sell, I can ask you like buy or sell. These are two of the sexiest legs that could have been seen in DKR. I don't know. There's a lot of things I can do.
There's a lot we can do. I tell you what, let me pay a bill. We'll get to buy or sell. We also have a super chat that just rolled in.
Hold on.
Yeah. Those are the sexiest pixelated legs I've ever seen in my life.
It's Ricky after he scores. That's me in the end zone.
Just for the record, a reminder. You know who didn't make a football uniform look dumpy or like misshapen or weird? Ricky Williams.
Oh, I think you were going to say Jeff Ketchum after looking at those legs.
Not a day in his life. Ricky made a football uniform look important. My God. That's impressive. Catch his legs.
Just so you know, the next year I went to Hawaii and DJ Williams, I guess this would have been 2 years later. DJ Williams, the future NFL linebacker, the man used to walk around like taking pictures of my calves. And he would want to hold them and grab them and feel them.
Wow.
Because he felt like they were the biggest calves he'd ever seen in his life.
So,
weird.
That
happened in Hawaii. Didn't quite know how to feel about that.
I'm just trying to understand here. 1 second. Well, real quick. Just one more time. So how much did you have to watch the game back to find that moment? Like, were you just anxiously watching the moment thinking, oh my God, I might get a picture of me in the end zone, and then you found it?
I think I was in the end zone. So I was like, oh, I wonder if I show up in that clip. It was a piece of history.
Yeah. And then you just went and hunted it down.
Well, I saw it instantaneously because I'm against a backdrop.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not even like, it wasn't hard to find.
Your legs are well set off against the burnt orange wall.
Yeah, they're easy to find. Again, I'm wearing shorts, so I know what to look for. Once I found it, it was easy to find. But it was one of those, I knew exactly where I was.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm curious, am I a part of history? And as it turns out, just my calves.
Just the calves. That's all it was. Just the calves. All right. So there you go. Catches legs in 98. Ricky breaks the record.
No, I've never shaved my legs.
It was the pixelation that you couldn't see up.
I'm not a very hairy guy, though.
Well, plus when you had hair is before we met, but when you had hair, it was also light colored hair, right?
Yeah, I'm a blonde. Dirty blonde.
You're not one of those dark hair. It wouldn't be like dark, hairy legs.
Correct.
If they're up close, right? Yeah. That makes sense. All right. There you have it. The legs recognized.
I'm telling you, DJ Williams loved my legs.
Yeah.
Legendary legs.
Legendary legs. You're like Phil Mickelson. They just talk about your legs.
Yeah, that's all they talk about with Phil.
Yeah, exactly. That's all they talk about. Speaking of things to talk about, I'm going to talk about Hays City Store real quick. I can talk about all of it. It's all worth talking about at Hays City Store. The weather is turning a little bit. You're getting those cooler days. man, this is a great time to get out to Hayes City Store. The Ice House area, the shaded tree area, maybe you want to go inside. The menu is just waiting on you. This is a time of year where I love to go after some of those fruit-infused beers from around the state. Every time I've seen blueberry on the menu at Hayes City Store, it works out every time. They have 40 draft beers from around the state and around the country. They've got great whiskey drinks. They've got those frozen margarita flights if you want. And oh, by the way, the food is amazing. Start with the home run dip, and then you cannot go wrong with anything else. Hayes City Store, there's your QR code. Get on out there to Driftwood. Maybe go hang in Wimberley afterwards, or just go see some of the beautiful hill country. Maybe just drive around. It's a great time at Hayes City Store. Tell Travis and Tamara and the crew that we say hello here at Orange Bloods
Can I
Live.
tell you my Hayes City Store story from this past week?
You did not.
So on Wednesday, Sonny and I had to meet to take care of some Orange Bloods business. We met each other in Giddings. It was Wednesday. You'll remember it. You did a show with Anwar. Mm-hmm. So while you guys were doing that show, I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant because I don't want to put nice people on blast.
Okay.
But I went into a place to eat in Giddings, Texas, and the menu's got like a million things on it. It's a steakhouse. I can say that. And I'm looking around and I'm like, man, every single person in this restaurant has to be on cholesterol medicine. It just looks like a place that's got good gravy and good chicken fried steak. Yeah. And you know I've been on a loser's list. Like I'm on a losing streak. I had the great chicken fried steak at Hayes, and then I've been chasing it.
Yeah.
So I got chicken fried steak at this place that just looks like they don't get chicken fried steak wrong.
Right. They got to nail it.
It sucked.
Did it really?
I think Hayes City's ruined chicken fried steak for me everywhere else.
So wait, it wasn't even like kind of good? Like I know it wasn't
not even kind of good. You can ask Sonny. I didn't finish it. I picked at it. It ended up not. And when it came out, I was like, I chose poorly.
Okay, let me go to the top of the list. Poor quality meat. The meat didn't go all the way to the end of the breading. The gravy sucked. Any of those three?
It just wasn't good. It wasn't about the meat didn't go to the edge of the it wasn't that. It wasn't like that. Big piece of.
Was the meat quality bad? Stringy meat?
It wasn't good.
Because that'll mess up a chicken fried steak.
But the crust wasn't good either.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
Everything about it.
Yeah.
You know, like at worst, you should just be able, the meat's bad. Well, I'll just eat this crust with some gravy. Like that should be good enough. It wasn't. And I asked for steak fries, and they brought out country fries. Their steak fries were country fries. And I just the whole time I was there, you could ask Sonny. I was like, this place just doesn't live up at all. It was so disappointing.
Yeah.
I went in there and I was like, okay, the people in here know how to eat.
And the whole time you were thinking of Hayes City Store's chicken fried steak.
And how much I wish I was there having that instead of, at one point I looked over to the left, it was lunchtime, and this woman was undoing her belt so her belly could breathe. And I was like, this got to be good food. These people are coming here in public and undoing their belts so that when they're done, their handles can breathe. I was like, this is going to be amazing. And all it did was make me want to go back to Hayes City even more.
What you didn't hear was as they were undoing the belt, what they were saying was that the worst chicken fried steak you've ever had? Because golly. I remember when you had it too. My favorite part was when you first had it, because you're a very critical human being when it comes to food. And your first comment, because you're a connoisseur, you're a food snob. That's what I love about you. And you said, yo, it's really good. And you're like, I don't know if it's the best I've ever had, but it's good. It's good. And then over time, it's just like one of those people that you date. And at the beginning, you think they're pretty good. And by the end of it, you realize, oh, good God, I had it wrong. Like I was underestimating this whole, like along the way, it just gets better and better and better. Yeah. That's what's great about that chicken fried steak. It doesn't leave you. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. We got
the problem with this place in Giddings is I was worried that it wouldn't leave me.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other issue. All right, let's go to a couple super chats. Fan club president, $2 super chat. Chad, how do you think Ags will do Saturday? Ooh. It's a great question. I don't know. Do I feel super confident they're going to win? No. Do I feel super confident they're going to lose? No. I'm not sure because Florida is sort of the same team right now. The ups, the downs. I want to lean, if I had to lean towards one quarterback right now, it's probably Lagway. It's an obvious comment to make. The offense for A&M still feels like it's trying to figure stuff out. I don't know what I learned from McNeese State other than A&M is way better than McNeese State, but I don't know if that means anything at the Swamp. Here's my honest opinion. On a Tuesday, it feels like a game. I think I saw A&M -4 today, Catch. I'd take Florida in those points because I'd lean towards the home team in this game.
Well, think about it like this, Chad. If the game is in College Station, then presumably A&M would be about a 7.5 point favorite.
Probably.
And I would be all over the Gators at +7.5. So at home, that's a coin flip game. You're getting better than a coin flip. I like the home team there.
Yeah, I hope the Aggies prove me dead wrong, but that's what I would do right now. So I would say like Florida by a single score is what it feels like to me, fan club president, because that whole Aggie team needs to look better. Defense can look great at times. Special teams has some good elements to it that maybe they can pack that on the road. But if that offense doesn't show up, I don't know. I don't know. Have the Aggies won a road game this century? How dare you? How dare you ask a question like that?
And they beat Texas in 2006.
I am pretty sure that
I tell you, that game haunts me, Chad. Like, that was my response to that.
It must haunt you because that wasn't even where I was going to go. That's just an insulting question in general, Chris, for that one. Thank you for that super chat. Here's another one, Catch. $9.99 from Bryson. Some interesting spelling on Bryson, too. $9.99. We looked at Micah Hudson last year, similarly to DK, ended up with Wingo, and we'll end up with French and Lockett. I think it works. I think it works out just fine. Just like Wingo, one of these dudes could be better.
I don't know that I've looked at Micah Hudson similarly to DeCorian Moore. I've said from the beginning I would have DeCorian Moore ranked higher than Micah Hudson. Yeah. So my expectations for what his career will turn out to be will be higher. But I think ultimately the point, Bryson, that you're making, that you think it works just fine, I think you're right. I mean, and the thing is, if it doesn't, Sark will just go get more. With wide receiver position, just feels like the last position in the world that you ever have to worry about. That at worst, for instance, let's say French went elsewhere, Lockett went elsewhere. Should you worry about wide receiver? No. Should you worry about wide receiver in 2025 if those guys decommit and you don't get DeCorian Moore? No. Because they'll just go out and get Matthew Golden and Silas Bolden and Isaiah Bond all over again. They'll just do it all over again.
And Catch, if you're a Texas fan, you also have the comfort that your head coach and play caller seems like he'll scheme them up just fine. Like, the combo of everything comes together. Not that you want to do it with 2 or 3 star guys. That's not what I'm saying. But like you said, you're going to go get those quality guys anyway. And then look what Sark's doing with them. Like, how would you not be confident there? All right. Bryson, thank you for that super chat. Catch, we have a couple other super chats. You want to buy or sell first or clean these off?
Knock the super chats out.
Knocking the super chats out. That one's done. Let's go here with Paul. $4.99. Buy or sell for Catch. Buy or sell, you would take 30 days, anything goes with Miley instead of 10 years of Rivals Tech Bliss. It's an interesting combo. This is really man's game stuff. Let me present it again. Buy or sell, you would take 30 days of anything goes with Miley Catch is a huge Miley Cyrus fan, if y'all don't know.
She's not my number one, though.
She's not your number one.
I just love Miley.
You're a huge fan. You love Miley. Instead of 10 years of Rivals Tech bliss, meaning there are no glitches, there are no issues, there's no technical stuff that gets in Catch's day at Rivals for 10 years, Catch, for a decade. But we are talking about a month of Miley. Buy or sell?
I'm taking a month of Miley. Wow. I mean, I'm getting some great stories out of that. I mean, I think I just like to hang out with Miley. She's like a nice person. But anything goes, so anything goes, right? But that also just includes, like, I might watch some football with Miley and see how that goes. The thing is, you say 10 years of Rivals Tech bliss. I feel like there are two things that need to be acknowledged. I could not take the 10 years of Rivals Tech bliss. I could still get like 9.5 years. That there could be 6 bad months combined. But it doesn't mean that I get 10 years of unbliss, the way that you've written the question. And then the other thing is, I've done this long enough to know that even if we went 10 years, Tech bliss, 10 years of Tech bliss, Chad, what would the reputation be of Rivals Tech if they went 10 years of Tech bliss?
Nobody'd notice.
Exactly.
No one would notice.
People would still complain. People would still say the technology sucks. I could say we haven't had issues in 9 years. And people would go, bullshit. No way. And so, it's like, no, I think I'll just take my 30 days with Miley. Is that 10 years of Rivals Tech bliss is a lot less than you think it is.
As well done. Well done, Paul. And I think Catch gave you the correct answer as well. A $4.99 super chat. Chad, have you had Mary's Chicken Fried Steak and Strawn? It's the best. Jamie, I still haven't. I think you mentioned it before. I've not been out to Strawn for
Where's
that. Strawn, that's a good, I would have to look up exactly where Strawn is. Is Strawn, hang on. Let's look where Strawn, Texas is.
I've never heard of Strawn, Texas.
Is Strawn one of those places that, hang on. Is it up in the, oh, yeah, it's way out. Oh, yeah. No, it's out on I-20. I was going to say, I think it's on my way to Cisco. Yeah, it's out there near Ranger. You know where Ranger is, Catch?
Was that near Ranger Junior College?
Exactly. Where Ranger JC is?
I do know where Ranger is.
It is a little bit, if you get on 20 from Ranger, and you head towards Fort Worth, and then you take a little side road, you get to Strawn.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. I've not had it, Jamie, but at some point I will do that. I'll have Doc Hastings and I, in fact, I'm going to take my mom and dad out there because if it's good enough chicken fried steak, my mom will tell them so. And it's got a woman's name in it. Catch, I love a dish that's got a person's name in it. Normally, they don't give somebody's name to something that sucks or is average. So grandma's something or Mary's something or Billy's something or what's the dip at Matt's El Rancho, right? What's the dip at Matt's El Rancho they named after the politician, the Bob Armstrong? Like when you put a name on something, normally it matters. So that's good. I will try that one. Oscar.
It'd be funny if it was like, this is our Ted Cruz gumbo. And it's like, well, how did you name the gumbo after Ted Cruz? And it's like, oh, because it sucks and nobody ever buys it and it's the worst thing we make. Oh, fair enough.
$5 super chat from Oscar. What do Sark and this staff have left to prove development-wise? Not saying there isn't anything, just genuinely curious.
Well, I think Sark still needs to put the cherry on top of his quarterback. He hasn't had one drafted yet. So one of the things that Sark needs is what we think Ewers is going to give him, which is that first-round draft pick that people will be able to cite for the next 20 years. You start talking about Texas and what kind of success they had at the quarterback position, you might mention his first, although Arch Manning, I think they got to get Arch right. That will be remembered, whatever it is. Sark is large. whatever Sark does with Arch will be on his tombstone. So he hasn't even started yet to prove anything really with that development, but they got to get Arch. I mean, they got to get more defensive tackle production. That hasn't completely gone away. I think you'd like to have a couple of big-time edge rushers, linebackers that truly develop into stars, that future 5 stars you can pitch and say, you know, right now, if like you're recruiting Colin Simmons, you can tell them you can be our next Micah Parsons, but he didn't go to your school. So you're just using that as an example of what you could be at this school. It's a lot easier if he went to your school and it's like, oh, you can be the next Colin Simmons. You know, I just think developing a couple of elite players at important positions, they probably still need to do. But I mean, I don't think anything's being held against them. I don't think you haven't heard, not even a defensive tackle is, because they've been developing their defensive tackles. They just haven't been recruiting defensive tackles. So if a defensive tackle is like, I don't want to go to Texas, who have they put into the league? And it's like, well, Byron Murphy and, you know, Tavondre Sweat and Keandre Coburn and Moro Ajomo. And that's just the last couple of years. It's like, oh, so a lot of guys, as it turns out. So I don't think they're being nitpicked. I just think there's some check marks that you want to make along the way. And there's some that they haven't created yet.
By the way, just for the record, thank you, Oscar, for your $5 super chat. Just for the record, this kind of stuff does work. Just a dude, thank you for mentioning it. Chad forgot my super. Didn't forget it, just did not see it, but I went and grabbed it. So just know those kind of things can work. Thank you for the $4.99. Just a dude. Is there a new comp for Quinn, or should it be an end of the year take? Also, who's your new rushing leader at the end? Still Blue?
It's still very much Jaden Blue.
Absolutely.
Who's my new comp for Quinn? I don't have one. It's an end of the year take.
Yeah, and I don't have anything like that. Like when I watch him play catch, I enjoy it. I'm enjoying watching the development. I don't think of anyone though. I don't watch Quinn play and think, oh, that's so-and-so's arm or that's so-and-so's feet.
He's got a little, occasionally he reminds me of Matt Stafford because he'll give you a weird arm angle and throw an absolute rope. And you'll go, that shouldn't be humanly possible.
Yeah.
Stafford is known for that type of throw, and Quinn Ewers at the college level gives you one of those a week where if you really slow-mo it and watch the arm angle, you'll go, well, that shouldn't have even been close to being pulled off, and yet it was. Maybe that, but I've always kind of thought that about him. He's always been somewhere between Matt Stafford and Jeff George, and both of those guys are insanely talented arm talents.
Just a dude. We appreciate the $4.99. Thank you for the heads up as well. It's not a super chat, but again, the ego will dictate sometimes. So, Sandman, thank you for this. Orange Bloods, just want to say thank you for giving me something to look forward to every day, trying to heal from a recent breakup and always manage to put a smile on my face. Thanks for being my second family. Thank you, Sandman. Thank you. Very nice.
Do you want to talk about it?
I mean, if we need to, we could.
I mean, look, we'll give you commentary. If you want to let us know, what did she do anything that we need to talk about on the show?
Right. I mean,
because if you need us to like say bad things about her without knowing her name, we'll do it.
Yeah. If you're in that.
If you did bad things,
yeah,
maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
Then we could move on, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Then we could move on. And Sandman, a very important phrase you put in the chat is something to look forward to. That's one of the most important things I heard years ago. Somebody say, it was actually Julia Louis-Dreyfus that I heard say it. And she's like, it was like her grandmother. She's like, my grandmother always says it's good to have something to look forward to. And I thought,
he says yes.
That's a very simple kind of thing.
It makes me think he did something and we just need to move along.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. There you go.
Good luck. Learn from your mistakes. That's the important thing. We all make mistakes.
That's it. Absolutely. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Just to help out our guy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I saw maybe today's the anniversary of the Ohio State game from 2005.
Okay.
Earlier today, I was seeing lots of Ohio State 2005 video clips, and it was September 10th. That actually might hold up. One of the things that the Ohio State game reminds me of is that I was coming off of a bad breakup. So, Sandman, I'm right there with you. Okay. And I left town for the Ohio State game. When I came back, my ex, who was living with me at the time, made dinner and had hot tub fun at my house while I was gone.
Mm.
And you know what? I was a sucker for even allowing myself to be in that position. Guess what never happened again? Sometimes you got to learn from these breakups. Sometimes you mess up. Sometimes you're a sucker. Sometimes you're bad or she's bad. Just learn from it and you'll move on and you'll meet somebody new. And the best version of yourself will be in this next one, as long as you learn from whatever the hell went sideways in this one.
Catch, you asked, Sandman answered. After 11 months of dating, she decided she wanted to move back to McAllen, Texas. When we first met, she wanted to live in Austin forever, and so did I. Now our lives are just taking us in different directions. Nobody did anything wrong.
Well, she did. She wants to go to McAllen.
We just now want different things because she changed her mind. Hey, nothing. Yeah, that's nothing to do with that. I think the lesson to learn, Sandman, is sometimes you've got to.
You took that down, but it's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you mean to throw that up now? I'm sorry. I thought we were.
I didn't touch anything.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Somebody was reminding us. Apparently, 2 years ago today was the App
Thanks, text guy too.
The App State win over Aggie. Thank you, text guy.
Here's what I would say, Sandman.
Appreciate that.
If my wife, look, I live in the Woodlands because my wife made me move there because she needed to be near family. I could tolerate the Woodlands. It's a wonderful place to live. But if she had said we have to move to Waco, that'd be it. I'd be out. I think McAllen's a deal breaker for me too. But there's just, if Miley Cyrus said we had to spend our 30 days in McAllen, I think I'd take the 10 years of Rivals bliss at that point.
Well, and also he said 11 months. So like if they both agreed they were going to be in Austin and you're 11 months in, if it was 3 years, right? It'd be one thing.
Well, look, here's what I'm hearing.
You're not even at a year.
I want to live in Austin forever. 11 months later, I want to live in McAllen. You know what they call that line? I'm just trying to make you feel better. That's a little bit of a lie.
It's also weird map lying too. That's a weird map lie. Like what?
Can we at least upgrade if you're going to change your mind?
If you had that feeling, you should have just, no, really, I want to be in Austin forever. But deep in her soul, she was thinking, I love McAllen, Texas. Man, I love McAllen.
And look,
which is fine.
Yes.
Be honest about it, though. Be honest at the beginning, second date, third date with my man Sandman and say, hey, Sandman, you know where I want to live more than any place in the world? McAllen. And he'd be like,
didn't get her prego.
And he'd be like, Texas?
This could be a lot worse, Sandman.
And she'd say, yeah, Texas. And he said, like, on purpose? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Then you know. Yeah, right. If we assume there's no kids and you get to move on and, cut ties and all that stuff. Oh, here it is. Okay. So she's a McAllen girl.
I don't care.
That makes it a little different.
You got to sniff that out, though, Sandman. Like, I once dated a woman who was from Colombia, and you just need to know she's going to be from Colombia forever. It's like, oh, hey, it's Christmas morning, and there's a party going on with like 45 people from overnight. You just got to know that's part of the deal.
To be fair, when you say Colombia, you mean the country and not like South Carolina. Okay.
Yes, she wasn't from South Carolina.
Gotcha. Fair enough. All right. We got another super chat in while that was happening. It's $5 from David L. David says, House Divided is easily my favorite midday listen. You guys make it easier to get through the workday. Thank you, David.
David, I want to let you know that I do a hard job. I try hard to overcompensate for what Chad doesn't bring you. So thank you for recognizing all of my hard work. Boy, I tell you, it's a challenge every day, but I do it for you.
I say it all the time. The show's called House Divided. It's not called House Divided Evenly. He does a lot of the work. Catch does.
I did not sing Coming to America, though, as Lou Holtz today.
Catch does 85% of the work. I bring 15% of the jazz hands. I bring 15% of magician hands to the show. Hey, what's on? House Divided. Hey, what time is it? 12 o'clock.
I am just upset that people won't. There will be some people who will see that as a continuation of another conversation, and they'll really appreciate what magician's hands. There will be other people that will have just seen that for the first time and have not know the backstory of the magician hands. And I'm just disappointed for those people. Go back.
David knows
some old videos.
David knows he's gonna have a drink at a bar tonight and be like, "Yo, man, did you catch magician hands call back today?" Woo! He knows.
Okay. Do you want to do buy or sell?
We probably should. You want to go first or second?
I'm going to sell. I'm making them up today. So I'm going to use you for inspiration and then come in on the backside.
Excellent. All right, here we go, Catch. We're going to have it. Well, it's heavy football and not heavy football. We'll start with football, though. Buy or sell number 1, Texas by 34.5. Lay it.
Lay it. I think, yeah. I wonder if in either of the next 2 weeks, one of these two games isn't a lay it game. But I think this week will be.
Okay.
I actually don't think they're getting wounded animal UTSA. I think they're getting like dead on arrival animal.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, so the other big one for the degenerates, buy or sell number 2, over-unders 53.5. Go over.
I think I might stay away from the over.
Okay.
I'm not saying take the under. I think the other play is giving the points.
Because you could go 42-10 and you wouldn't quite get there.
49-0. Like I think.
Yeah,
I think
true.
I don't think the Texas defense is giving up very much. So
God, how bad would it suck to take the over and you get hit with 49-0? That would suck.
Look, if I was going to play that, I would play the over. But I'm saying stay away from it.
All right, fair enough. Catch, buy or sell number 3. There's one ranked matchup this week in college football, and you can tell me the SEC team that is half of it.
I thought there were 2 ranked matchups.
I am only seeing one.
There's one on Thursday night.
That does not count. I only go on Saturday. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. It's in Saturday. One ranked matchup on Saturday. You can tell me which SEC team is a part of it.
I should. I feel like I've been on top of these things, but I'm drawing a blank right now. So,
out of nowhere, a team that we thought had a horrible schedule may not. Missouri hosts Boston College, the team that pushed Florida State around, and Boston College just climbed in at number 24. It is an early kick. It is an 11:45, where the Aggies were last week. That was a game not to watch for most people, because why would you do that? But this one might be interesting, Catch. Boston College and Missouri. Is Missouri ready to continue an undefeated season, or will they let folks down? One to pay attention to this weekend. All right, Catch. A birthday acknowledgement. Buy or sell number 4. Randy Johnson is 61 years old today, the legendary pitcher. The bird thing is the most unlikely moment in sports history.
Okay, now I gotta channel my inner unlikely.
Can you think of anything that we've ever seen during play of a sport that is more unlikely than Randy Johnson throwing that ball and killing that bird mid-air with like a 95-mile-an-hour heater? Foul ball caught by like the same guy, multiple pitches, or is it something weird at a football? I don't know. I can't think of anything that's more unlikely than that moment.
Am I allowed to use a movie?
The fact that you have to tells me a lot. No, this is an actual sporting event. You know what? I just thought of one. Your legs ending up in the background of Ricky Williams.
No.
That's pretty unlikely.
Can I tell you my movie example?
Sure.
The end of Teen Wolf.
Oh,
When Michael J. Fox's character is on the court and he's not the wolf, and they're getting dump trucked by the team with the big ogre on it. And then they just start hooping.
Win in the end. I'm gonna win in the end.
Michael J. Fox was so crappy at basketball that they show the same layup like 9 times from different angles.
He's doing this and they just turn him.
That comeback is so unlikely. Shoot it, fat boy. Chubb's out there making 3-pointers. Like
the best is the Chubb's 3-point skyhook. There's nothing better in that movie.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's the most unlikely moment in sports history, because you could make a case that Chubb's making the hook shot 3 by itself is the most unlikely moment in sports history. To add all of the things that happened in that game where they come back, I think incredibly unlikely.
Oh my God. If I had any inkling that when I thought up the Randy Johnson thing, you would have gone to Teen Wolf, I would have. I'm just so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of you. It's just a big moment in the show's history right now. That's just well done. All right, Catch, let's finish it this way. Buy or sell. Number 5, there's a presidential debate tonight. In terms of the border, no, I'm just kidding. Presidential debate in a hot mom vibe showdown today. Kamala, hotter than Michelle Obama.
Sell.
He's going Obama.
But Kamala's sister, and we might be in business.
Kamala's sister. Interesting. Okay.
She's like 50, maybe, but she looks like she might be 25.
Wow.
I can tell you, I sent pictures of Kamala's sister to somebody on the Orange Blood staff a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
And was just like, who would have ever guessed? Yeah.
All right. There you go. You watching the debate tonight? No. Okay. No debate watching tonight. All right. There is my part of buy or sell. Catch is about to wing it, which means things are going to get a lot more organized. What do you got, Catch?
Buy or sell number 1. You kind of enjoyed watching Aaron Rodgers flounder on Monday night last night. I mean, it was against the Niners.
Sell, because it was against the Niners.
Yeah.
And I'm an older man now, and I wanted him to come back from the injury. And I like Garrett Wilson, Austin connection. I wanted to see those two get along. And I don't like the Niners. I wanted to see the Niners lose. Even with the backup running back, they go crazy. So I have to sell. And I'm not a Rodgers hater. I love watching that man work. I wanted to see him do a little magic and take it to the Niners, and he didn't. So I got to sell.
Buy or sell number 2. You heard Tom Brady's, or I guess watched kind of a combination of the two, his debut performance in the Cowboys game. You thought it was okay. As far as opening game TV debuts go, you'd give him a solid B.
Yeah, buy. And definitely stuff to work on. The pacing of it is all he's got to figure out. You can tell the information's there. It's about figuring out when to be quick, when to be shorter. Play-by-play is about the art of talking, and being the color analyst is the art of shutting up. And he's got to figure out how to do that. I would tell him to call one person, Catch, Troy Aikman. Just call Troy, get some thoughts, get some pointers. Because right now, and maybe for our whole lives, I don't know if anybody has done what Tom is trying to do better than Troy Aikman. There was just those moments where he needed to just tighten some things up. But overall, yeah, absolute a B performance, and he'll just keep getting better.
Buy or sell number 3. You heard Colt McCoy's opening performance in the Nebraska-Colorado game, and you thought the opposite of what you thought of Tom Brady. You didn't think McCoy was good. You give him a D.
This is going to be a does not apply. I can't answer because I didn't watch. I didn't hear a second of Colt, so I don't know. because Saturday was my daughter's birthday. So when we got done with post, we took her out for her birthday. We did that whole thing. And I just watched the score. And once I saw that Nebraska was thrashing them, I laughed at Dion. And then I just didn't go back and watch. And then I didn't record it. So I haven't heard a second of it. I cannot comment.
All right, then I won't count that question.
Okay.
Different buy or sell question number 3. The thing is, when you wing the questions, it makes it easier to move on from
That's
a
true.
failed question.
It
Buy
does,
or sell number 3. Did you hear Drew Bledsoe's comments on Tony Romo from the weekend?
No, I saw you make a reference, and I still haven't heard those. I'm sorry. Push.
It's like we're playing Family Feud, and I've asked you a question, and you're like, pass.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We'll circle back to that since I can't ask you a question. I mean, I could, but then I'd have to explain it all. And maybe
I was going to say, if you can explain it to me quickly, that's one thing, but I did not hear it.
Here's the explanation. They did a Drew Bledsoe piece where they talked about how Tom Brady and how he reacted to the changeover at quarterback.
Right.
And then when they mentioned him losing his job to Romo, he throws Romo under the bus by saying essentially, when Brady got the job, he still wanted to ask me a bunch of questions and learn from my brain. When Romo won the job, he didn't want to ask me any questions. He acted like he had it all figured out. My buy or sell question was going to be, shut up, bitter old man. It's been 18 years.
I'd say sell. They asked him a question, and he's got the perspective on the question. Let him have his perspective. I got no problem with it.
Tony Romo took over the team. It was 3-3. He took them to the playoffs, and the next year they went 13-3. Like, what the hell is Drew Bledsoe going to teach you?
Look, Drew Bledsoe is, he's a learned football player. He drinks a lot of wine.
He's a old man that thinks more of himself than anybody else does, and I like Drew.
He drinks a lot of wine. It's a thought-provoking beverage. So I think he's always thinking of stuff, and that would be good. Plus, I think it would have behooved Tony Romo to ask more questions, frankly.
How do we know? We know.
But, yeah.
We know, like, Bledsoe handled that. When Bledsoe lost the job to Brady, it felt like he handled that real well. He lost the job to Romo. He was pissed.
Yeah, and
he never looked like a guy that the next guy. Because the way I look at this, if I'm taking your job, if my goal for 3 years has been to take your job, I'm probably not going to you for advice once I do.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But again, that's his perspective. The greatest of all time in a lot of people's minds did it one way, and he's just saying this other dude did it another way.
Buy or sell number 4, we will see a 100-yard rusher from Texas in the next 3 games before we get to the Oklahoma game.
Next 3. Yeah, that feels like a buy. And in one of these next 2, it could be one of the others. It could be somebody outside of the blue. It could be somebody out of the blue.
You didn't even need to. I was with you.
Wow. Yeah. So buy. I'll buy that. In fact, I'll buy it and give you a specific. It's Gibson against ULM. Boom.
Hold on. I've got my next question's a hotter then.
Okay.
But I want to.
Does it involve JD Vance?
No,
okay.
It does not.
I don't know.
But I want to make sure that I pick the right person.
Okay.
So let me look at a list.
Hang on. While you're doing that, this is just a funny chat. Drew Bledsoe would teach Romo how to stand in wet cement before games. Woo! Not nimble in the pocket, that Drew Bledsoe.
All right, here we go. We got a prime on prime, okay?
Okay, prime on prime.
And this one might be a man's. I don't know what this is. It might be a man's game. Oprah Winfrey in her prime.
Oh, dear God.
Hotter than Joan Rivers.
What a great battle. Hang on. Hold on. Oprah Winfrey in her prime. Hotter than Joan. That's a sell for me. That's a sell. Because
You're
one of
going
the great
Joan in her prime.
Yeah, because here's one of the weird things about Joan Rivers, Catch. Like, her act was based on around the idea in the old days that she was like just some average / ugly person. So she was the comedic version of like the movie stuff when they take a hottie and they just take her makeup off for the early part of the movie and try to convince us she's an ugly duckling, you know? And then it's like, oh no, come on,
It's
man.
like Keira Knightley in Pride and Prejudice.
Keira Knightley or Anne Hathaway or Sandra Bullock or whoever it is, right? And you get towards the end, you're like, okay, come on. We all knew she was hot to start with. So yeah, it's kind of that thing. But I'll go Joan. I get the overall attitude, but yeah, Joan in her prime, I thought was really attractive, and I would have told her to stay the hell away from the plastic surgeon. And over time, I was proven right. She got overly addicted to it and couldn't stop.
I don't know how to answer my own question.
Oprah is an interesting one for me, Catch, because there are times Oprah has the like peaks and valleys for me, ups and downs or whatever. Like, I thought the other night, the speech at the convention, I thought she looked incredible. Thought she looked amazing.
I don't know how to answer the question. I'm looking at some old photos of Joan. Some of them are okay. You type into young Oprah, and I'm not sure if these are even real pictures.
I tell you what,
Oprah
had
one Oprah young picture where I would go Oprah. If that's Oprah's prime,
yeah,
and that's actually Oprah, I'll go young Oprah.
Oprah had some great 80s hair. They both did, really. I mean, think about it. In the 80s, Oprah and Joan Rivers, like the hair.
Young Oprah. I'm looking at young photos of Oprah right now, and I'm going young Oprah.
The hair Joan Rivers used to bring to the Tonight Show when she sat in. Oh my God. By the way, Joan Rivers documentary is excellent. If folks haven't watched that one, it's fantastic. Oscar has a little bone to pick. $10 super chat. Tired of people defending Shador and Deion's comments about the O-line when Deion and his staff knew about it since last year and didn't fix it at all. Sorry to divert. Just bugs me.
Nice rant.
Good job.
Oscar, I don't really have anything to add to that other than attaboy. I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Well done. Well done. All I know, Oscar, is if what I saw on social media is true, it's the funniest thing I'm going to see all year. Catch, did you see this thing about Deion and the song and the band?
It's not true.
Okay. It can't be real, but God, that's a great story that someone made up. So when you see it, no, it's not true. The thing about the song and the band, there's no way it could be true, but God, it was funny. All right, Oscar. Thank you.
All right, let's wrap it up. I'm tired now.
Fair enough. Before we do that, we will thank 1,257. Woo, headed up towards 1,300 folks in that Specs chat. Let's give Specs their love. Go get stocked up. They've got the app, and I owe Anwar $25 in a gift card. They've got those too. Here it is.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Because Texas won by 10 points or more last week, I owe Anwar a $25 Specs gift card. So maybe you get somebody that's, on your birthday list or Christmas list or whatever. Get them a little Specs gift card. Get that app on your phone as well. We've got Football with Friends coming up at 6 o'clock this evening. You've got Old Fashioned with the aforementioned Anwar Richardson at 9 o'clock. You got the Recruiting Hour at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm assuming there'll be some Myron Charles and Hilson talk and Texas trying to flip all of Florida State's stuff. That'll be tomorrow. And tomorrow at noon, Catch. Any thoughts on if you will be a part of House Divided?
I'm going to be here.
Yeah. Okay.
I will be here. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
Okay. See, if you do that, then Anwar's going to think I'm avoiding him because I owe him $25 in Specs money.
Well, you need to pay that $25 in Specs money. Like I can't control that.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. That is fair. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss a super chat. Nope. That was the last one we had. Thank you for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications. Until tomorrow at noon, we are House Divided. Y'all be careful out there. See ya.